to me, listening to the conversation, right, and we know this is just common knowledge, sadly, this ideology of black success means that you are now around white people in white spaces. So how do we stop that way of thinking or that way of living? Because, you know, Marlon, you made a great point of the way you grew up, right? Sadly, all of us don't have that experience. Right now, most black people, you grow up in a neighborhood, there's a sense of community, you know, your mother may work and you doing something and somebody see you and they say something to you back in the days. But just growing up in that pride as to where you're constantly around your own people, and no matter what kind of setting it is, you know, work, school, community, and it feels good, right? That's amazing, but that's not everyone's experience. How do we remedy that and say, listen, there can be success for black people, and it does not have to mean moving to a white neighborhood, sending your kids to white schools, working for a white organization. How do we change that?
You have to be for that to happen. You know, first of all, I think that was happening, right? That's happening even now in small spaces. The problem is that I think black people have become too American and not black first. Yes. And what I mean by that is that, you know, there's a history of America and white hegemony and white rage. And what I mean by that is America is committed to advancing on two principles: capitalism and white hegemony. And white hegemony meaning at the exclusion and alienation of anyone who is non-white, and particularly anyone who is thinking their own ideology. So it starts, to me personally, with intentionality and education, where we have to create our own ideology from young. You know, with teaching our kids, you know, having safe spaces for our children, willing to have enough courage to say, look, if you come over here bothering these little children, you're going to pay.
Right.
When we study the history, there were people who were about that, and they some of them lost their lives. Some of them,
the Black Panthers,
some of them lost their freedom. A lot of things have happened, but we have to commit to that. For the last century, everything has been about us trying to integrate into something that does not want us, other than to entertain or commodify. And I think we have to address that, and we haven't addressed that because we too busy applauding people for their black excellence. And the only reason we giving them black excellence is because they got a seat next to white people.
That's it. So real quick, just 3 points. First is, it is happening. So when we were off camera, I was telling Dogs about how his experience with his tribe and how they do has affected how I do with my children. So the Combine and those brothers at the Combine have a village where those children feel insulated and secure in the village. So it is happening, right? The second thing I wanted to say is that there was a study talking about white hegemony. There was a study done, and this was the study. They brought whites into a room and they put on the screen a conference room with 20 random people sitting in a conference table, and they're having a conversation with the subject about diversity. What they found was the whites that they studied all were in favor of diversity, the diversity that they saw on the screen. So figure the 20 random people, they would start with like 3 blacks and 17 whites, and they would talk about diversity. Oh, I'm for diversity. What they found was, at the point when the screen showed 40% or more of minorities, the white subject said, I'm not with diversity. So what does that tell you? What it tells you is that whites, and I don't want to generalize it, but I'll generalize it. Whites, even whites that think in a liberal mindset, still abide by the hegemony. Because what they're saying is, we with diversity as long as it doesn't change the tone of our ability to drive.
Not too much.
Right. Because once you get past 40%, it's too many on that screen. Right? And now it makes their ability to have authority and dominion feel funny. And in every case, when they got to 40%, the subject was like, nah. The third thing was, I don't know if y'all peeped it, but when she was talking about writing that fact, she cracked her knuckles.
You heard that
shit.
Sure.
She was like, crack.
She cracked that shit.
It's about to go up in here.
I didn't even realize that I did that.
That too. Like,
no, I heard it. I heard it. I was like, oh.
I said somebody's shooting in here.
It gives me a very visceral reaction. Yes.